So before starting how to configure, how to troubleshoot, I will just want to give a brief intro about Netflow. So what is Netflow? Netflow is a feature which basically provides the ability to collect all the traffic that is received on the firewall, and it gives all the ability to monitor. So basically Netflow is mainly used to monitor the devices for the traffic flow that is coming and going, or incoming and outgoing traffic on a device. And with the help of Netflow, we can capture all the flows that are passing through the firewall, and we send it to some monitoring server that will help us to analyze the data, understand the bandwidth, understand the kind of traffic that is being received, and that this also helps in analyzing during many issues. Okay. And through analysis of the data provided by Netflow, a network administrator is able to detect things such as the source and destination of traffic, class of service, and the cause of congestion on the network. So these are like all the usage of Netflow that a Netflow server or Netflow destination helps us to for this analysis. So a manual analysis also required to troubleshoot, but yes, Netflow helps us in troubleshooting and analyzing the traffic pattern, kind of traffic pattern that is being received on the firewalls. So just I will go by the definition also. As I explained, Netflow is a feature which provides the ability for an organization to monitor and collect IP network traffic entering or exiting an interface, and then export those statistics for analysis. Okay, so this is how the network topology, or generally a sample diagram for the Netflow is. So it's not like a standard diagram, but I'm just trying to illustrate how the Netflow works. So for example, here you can see I have represented a FortiGate, and so any traffic that is passed between these two devices, the 40 switch, let's say the laptops or the device on the left, and to the communication between the 40 switch on the right, the PC. So this when this traffic is passing via FortiGate, a copy of the NetFlow records or NetFlow flow records is sent to the NetFlow collector. So basically all the communication between the device on the left and right. So for the communication for these devices, a NetFlow record is being sent to the NetFlow collector, and on the NetFlow collector we can analyze this for any troubleshooting or analysis of the traffic. Okay, so now coming to the configuration of the Netflow. Netflow configuration on a FortiGate is very simple, and it's not like many parameters or different configuration you have to do. It's very simple. First of all, the point to be noted is Netflow can only be configured from the CLI in a FortiGate, and there is no GUI option available to configure the Netflow. So as you can see, Netflow on FortiGate cannot be configured from GUI, and there is no option in GUI. And from the CLI, this is how we configure. So basically what you have to do, you have to go under config system netflow and then set collector IP. So collector IP is basically the destination where you will be sending your IP flow or netflow records, as I shown in the previous topology. So the device here, you can see this is the NetFlow collector. So when you are configuring on the FortiGate, you have to define what is the IP of the NetFlow collector, and you have to define on which interface you want to collect the data. So you have to define the collector IP address, and then you have to set the collector port. Collector port means which port the collector is listening on. After the collector port, you can define the set source IP. So set source IP is used if, let's say, to reach the NetFlow collector, there is a specific interface or a specific IP address using which you can reach. So basically, based on the routing or based on the default routing, it may use some other interface, but you specifically want to say like this should be the source IP to reach the NetFlow collector. So in that case, we use the set source IP. And then similarly, we have active flow timeout, inactive flow timeout, template timeout. I will be explaining all those, but these all are like having a default value in the configuration. So if you are not changing the default values, then the only parameter that needs to be configured is the collector IP. Rest every all other configuration parameters are by default, unless you are playing or you are changing those port numbers on the destination netflow collector, or if you require any custom option. Let's go. Okay, so as I was explaining in the previous slide, like what is collector IP? So collector IP is the IP4 or IPv6 address for the netflow collector, and then collector port, netflow collector port, that is the service, the netflow service that is listening on. So it can be any port number, but generally netflow listens on port number 2055, and the default configuration for this is also 2055. Then I said source IP. So source IP is the like if you want to specify this particular interface would be chosen as the source interface. Active flow timeout. This value is the timeout to report active flows, and this is an in minutes. So you can configure from 1 minute to 60 minutes, but the default value is 30. So as I was telling in the previous slide, like you only need to configure the collector IP and the collector port if you are not changing. Otherwise, all these parameters are configured by default, and the default values are given in this table as well. You can see the default value for active flow timeout is 30. Similarly, for inactive flow timeout, it's 15, and so on. What is inactive flow timeout? So timeout for periodic report of finished flows. Like that means the traffic which is already passed through the firewall, that is called finished flows. So like after once a flow is finished, how much time it should wait to send this data or this flow to the netflow collector, that is inactive flow timeout. And template is basically what are the different fields that will be sent to the netflow collector. So in the template it defines like these are the set of data that will be sent to the netflow collector. So I will be explaining more about this template in the for upcoming slides. Then you can understand what is template, but by default you don't need to change anything on this except the collector IP and the collector port if required. Otherwise it's only the collector IP. Now, to configure a NetFlow sampler on an interface. So apart from what we are doing here in the config system NetFlow, you also need to do a configuration on the interface level. So on the interface level means this is the configuration for NetFlow, and you will put a command on individual interfaces wherever you want to collect the IP flow records. So for example, config system interface. This is the interface on which I want to enable the NetFlow. So you have to go into the edit interface and set NetFlow sampler. By default, it's disabled, and you can take the NetFlow sample either for TX or RX or both. So generally, if you want to collect data for both sides, so we use both. Otherwise, you can choose transmitted data or RX received data as well. By default, NetFlow sampler is disabled on an interface. Okay, so as we know now how to configure NetFlow, what is NetFlow, now let us see how to troubleshoot NetFlow. Of course, whatever I am discussing, I am going to show this on a live device that will make you understand it more better, and that will help to understand all these concepts which we discussed just now. So as you know, at our channel, whatever we tell, we do it on the lab devices as well, and we show you a live demo for the troubleshooting or for any configuration example or the topic which we are discussing. So always welcome to my channel for live demos. Okay, so now NetFlow sampler, when you are configuring, you have to configure it on a interface as well. So as we already discussed, now we will be seeing all this on the device anyhow. So if you want to verify the configuration for the NetFlow, you can do a get system NetFlow. So when you do get system NetFlow, it will show you something like this. So where you can verify what is the collector IP, what is the collector port, source IP, and the other parameters that we discussed. Template timeout, inactive flow timeout. So by doing the get system net flow, you can check this. And similarly, if you have a issue, or if you are saying like you are not receiving the net flow data on the destination server, in that case you have to first verify the configuration, whether the configuration is correct, and then you would like to may would like to do a packet capture on the Fortigate and see if the Fortigate is really sending the data or not. So if it is seen in the packet capture, then you can confirm no, Fortigate is sending the flows, and you may need to check on the device in the device on the path, or maybe at the destination server. So once you have verified the configuration, you have verified that data is not seen or is seen in the packet captures, you may also want to verify the interface configuration. So in the interface configuration, you should be having this option configured, Netflow sampler both. So if this option is not there, then also you will not see the Netflow data. So you can do source system interface and the interface name. You will be able to get this interface configuration, and you should verify that Netflow sampler is configured. The other way, or the debug way of doing it, is this command. So when apart from this, means after verifying the configuration, after checking that all parameters are correct, it is configured on the interface, we will go for this debugs. So if you run the command diag test application sflowd. Why sflowd? Because Netflow is handled by a process that is called sflowd on the Fortigate. So that is called sflowd. So any issues related to Netflow is handled by this particular process sflowd. So when we are doing Diag test application sflowd and the variable 3 sflowd3. So in this case, Diag test application sflowd, it shows what is the collector IP address, on which port the collector IP address listens on or you have configured. If you have given any source IP address like collector source IP, which we were discussing earlier, and what are the active timeout and inactive timeout of the flows. And as you can see, like we had configured it on the VDOM root. By default, it's the VDOM root. This is the IP address configured, and currently it is configured on interface port 5, as this is the port 5 interface basically. So whatever interfaces are configured for uh, Netflow, that you will be able to see here interface. What is the direction? Sample direction is both. So as you can see here in the configuration also, sample direction is both. And this is the device index and SNMP index for this particular interfaces. Here you also get the statistics for various uh, flows that are being sent. So you can see here exported means what flow records are already exported. Bytes 0, packet 0, session 0, flow zeros. That means nothing is being exported from this device. So basically, I took this screenshot just on a test device. So when there were no flows, and then you can see when it's the time to next template. So this time to next template basically defines the template timeout values. And yeah, that's it. When you are using Diag test application sflow d3, you can use this. Then we also have a command, same command, but instead of using the variable 3, now we have to use 4. So what happens if we use 4? It shows how many VDOMs the Netflow is enabled, how many collectors are configured, which interface or how many interfaces are being used for the Netflow, and are there any live sessions that are going on, and what is the session cache maximum count. That means the maximum number of Netflow session count. So the detailed description I have given here as well. Netflow collectors configured, number of interfaces being cached, number of interfaces enabled for Netflow. So you can see this here. So once you verify all these things, I'm sure, not sure, 100% sure that you should be able to see the Netflow data on the Netflow collector, or it can be any server which can analyze the Netflow. Maybe it is a PRTG, SolarWinds, or any other Netflow supported application. But you may have some issues which might be related to the bugs. So bugs are always common. For in case of any issues or due to bugs, then you have to contact, of course, the Fortinet support. As I was saying here, if you know here, we can also see the by capturing the traffic on the interface. So you can use Diag sniffer packet. So same I have explained here. Diag sniffer packet, any host 10 10 10. So in my case, the 10 10 10 device is the collector IP. So I am saying any data sent to my collector, because I know this is the only IP address or only traffic that is being sent to this IP. So I am just specifying the host. Otherwise, you may use a condition of the port number that you are forwarding the traffic 2055. This filter can also be configured in the sniffer packet, but as I for me, host is enough. So by doing a packet capture on the FortiGate, I can see like the UDP flows or the Netflow records are being sent. So I can see this is my FortiGate IP and I'm sending the traffic on to 2055. So basically IP flow records are being sent. So now we have discussed like what is a Netflow, an overview of the Netflow, how to configure Netflow, and how to troubleshoot the Netflow. So the main important thing on the configuration means like troubleshooting is you should have the correct configuration, correct source IP address defined, and the interfaces should have the simpler configured. And you can take a packet capture on the device, which will show you if the real record is being sent or not. And then, of course, you can use the Diag debugs for the sflow daemon, which will give you more statistics on the flow records that are being sent. So now we know I have given some of the sample or some sample problems that we generally see due to Netflow. So you can see I have just given like first I saw cannot enable Netflow in a VDOM. Yes, so this is one of the important points. If you have multi VDOM enabled firewall, multi VDOM enabled FortiGate, so in that case, the NetFlow cannot be enabled in the management VDOM. So let's say if root is the management VDOM, then NetFlow cannot be configured in root VDOM. Or if you have changed the management VDOM, then whatever means whichever VDOM is the management VDOM will not have the option to configure the NetFlow. So NetFlow is not available in the management VDOM. So when I say cannot enable NetFlow in a VDOM in this case, so here the user was trying to configure NetFlow in the management VDOM. So that was the issue here. So we identified and we informed customer like FortiGate allows to setup of NetFlow in multi-VDOM environment interface, but it will not allow configuring it in the management VDOM, and the command also is not available. Then I had some issues where my customer asked me, does NetFlow requires any license on the FortiGate? No, the NetFlow does not require any license on the FortiGate, but you may need license for the NetFlow collector or the server or the application that will analyze these NetFlow records. Because from a FortiGate perspective, FortiGate simply sends the IP flow or the NetFlow records to the collector. It is the collector duty or collector responsibility to understand the or to analyze analysis of the IP flow records. One of my customer had also reported like FortiGate iOS traffic is being classified for device type as Cisco iOS on FortiSIM. So this is basically nothing an issue from the FortiGate. It is the parser mistake on the FortiSIM because FortiSIM is identifying the device type as wrong. So there is nothing from the FortiGate. Okay. So now Netflow templates. So understanding the Netflow template may not help you initially because these are the default data type. But if you want to know more in detail, so I just added this Netflow templates as well. So whatever the traffic that is being passed or received on the FortiGate, so when we create the Netflow records out of it, so these are the different type of template that FortiGate can collect, and FortiGate can create Netflow records based on these syntax or fields or data. So Netflow has categorized or created multiple templates to use with different kind of traffic. So for example, if an IPv4 traffic is passing through the firewall without any net, then FortiGate will use this template ID 258. And similarly, if you have IPv6 with no net, then this is a template. If it is ICMP4 traffic, then this is a template. ICMPv6, this is a template. So these are the different templates, or templates, basically template contains the fields that are being captured to create the IP flow record to be sent to Netflow collector. For example, I will just take one of the templates here. This I will take as an example to show you what exactly it contains in this template. And when you capture the data on, I mean capture the packet on the FortiGate or on the device, so if a template is being sent, you will be able to see that template data also in the wireshark capture, like what all fields are being sent as part of this Netflow template. So now I will show you this template ID 258. So if I say template ID 258, that is IPv4, no net traffic. So if you receive this traffic, so these are different fields that are being captured and being sent to the Netflow collector. So what it collects? It collects bytes, out bytes, packets, out packets, when it was first switched, then the source port, destination port, SNMP, output SNMP, what kind of protocol the traffic is, what is the application ID, what are the flow flags, means based on the TCP handshake, what are the flow flags, what is the forwarding status, why the flow is ended on the firewall. So basically flow end region, and then source address and destination address. So this is something called template. So template tells you what data or packets, not packets, I mean, what fields are being captured to create the Netflow record or to be sent to the Netflow collector. So I have just shown a sample template. If you want to see more templates or all the templates, or maybe specific to your case, you can see these templates on the Fortinet website, so which explains all of these templates, and these links are also clickable. And you, so if you want, I will give the reference link in the description of this video as well, so you can click on that link, you can visit that link to see all these different templates. Hope oh, I'm sorry, it's not the end of the video. Now we have to go to the lab. I was just rushing on and I was about to finish the video. I'm sorry for this. Let's go to our lab device. Okay, now this is our lab device. Let's go back to our slides and let's go back from the beginning. Okay, here. Okay, now I will simply log on to the CLI of my firewall. As I have shown like how to configure the Netflow. So what you have to do is config system Netflow. You have to go config system Netflow and then configure these parameters as mentioned here, but you just need to configure whatever you need. So basically set collector IP and then the IP address you have to give. In my case, I will just do a show and it will show me what is the collector IP address I have configured. So you can see I have configured 10, 10, 10, 10. You might be wondering, or I know because you guys are already working on the FortiGate. So whatever the default configuration, FortiGate does not show it by default. So if you want to see the default configuration as well, then these you have to do a show full configuration. And if you just do show, it shows you customized configuration or the manual configuration that is being done. So you can see the difference here. I had just configured the collector IP by myself. The rest all values I have used as the default ones. The default collector port is 2055, no source IP configured, 30, 15, 30, 20. These are the default timeouts for flows and template. So if you think from a configuration perspective, then you only need to have the collector IP, and you may want to verify the collector port because the application on the other end might be working on some other different port. Okay, so let's go to the next page. This I explained. Okay, now the config system interface. When we talk about config system interface, let's go to config system interface and see how to configure it. You do config system interface, and which interface? Let's say in my case I will do it on port 5 and I will do so because I have already configured this. So you can see here set netflow sampler both. Otherwise you can simply do set netflow sampler both and enter and end. So now this port is enabled for netflow collection. Then let's get to the troubleshooting. So what you have to do, you can simply do get system netflow. This gives you all the parameters that are configured. Okay, the default one or the manual, whatever way it is configured, it should show here while doing this get system netflow. Okay, so you can see this. Then you can also verify the configuration of the interface. Config system interface, edit port 5 and do so. So this you can do the verification of the interface that set netflow sampler should be configured. Then you can take a packet capture, diagnose sniffer packet, any, in my case I will do port 2055, or let's say I will do my collector 10 10 10, what is the IP of my collector? 10 10 10 10 10. And so if my FortiGate is sending any traffic to the NetFlow, it should show here, but I guess it's not sending. Oh, it's sending, yeah. So my FortiGate is sending the NetFlow records that we can verify by using this diagnosis sniffer. So I can see it is being sent. So in my case, it's working properly. Then let's say if you don't see the traffic or the IP flow records as part of the sniffer, then you have to verify Diag test application sflowd and 3. So you can see here, let's go to the slide. Okay, this is sflowd 3. So you can, when you check on the device, you can see here diagnose application sflowd 3. So in this you can see Netflow VDOM configuration, what is my collector IP, what is the source IP timeout, and here you see the important things. Exported. So exported means how many records are being exported to the Netflow collector. So this many bytes are already sent, or you can say this many packets, this many sessions, and this many flows are already exported. But in your case or in your environment, if you don't see these counters increasing, that means the flows are not sent. So let's say I will again do if it is being increased. So you can see by the time I again ran this command, the flows increased from 183.0.0 to 304 because I have very less traffic on my device. Okay, then you can see which interfaces are being sampled for the flow and what is the source IP, sequence number, packets, template, all this is shown. Similarly, you can also do sflowd4, and sflowd4 shows you which are how many collectors are configured, which cached interface and netflow enabled interface, as I explained on to the slide here. So now we have seen all the Netflow configuration on the device, on the PPT, everywhere. So let me know if you are facing any kind of issues in your Netflow, and you can put your comments onto the video. I can help you with troubleshooting, or maybe I can guide you with troubleshooting steps. And for any comments on the videos, please, for any feedback, you can always comment onto the video. Thank you guys for watching this, and if you like my video on Netflow, or if you like my videos, then yes, please do like and subscribe my channel. Thank you so much, guys.